You know how you sound smart? You quote smart people.
Yeah.
And so somebody said this. I've learned this over the years about leadership. There are leaders, all caps, and then there are actual real-life Jesus-shaped leaders. We don't need to listen to the former. We don't need to listen to the leaders. We do need to listen to the latter type. And I've known her for years. He says that's Melany Jackson, our guest today and the author of this book, More Than Enough.
Good morning, Melany.
Hi, it's
Thanks
so
for
good
being here.
to be here.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. So this is so cool. So you said you just got your book in your hands like 10 days ago.
Yes.
And you have quite this story to share, which is why somebody, after you had shared your story with him, he was like, you got to write this down. You got to write this book. So for people thinking today, I mean, a lot of this book is about trusting God when it seems impossible. For people who are walking through their own impossibility and they're trying to trust God, what would you give them? I mean, what's the gist of it?
Well, the book is about God's miraculous provision. That is simply, in a nutshell, what More Than Enough talks about through my life, through the ministry for folks on the street, See You at Home, that started a few years ago. And there were so many times in this journey that I just felt like it's not going to happen. Just felt like giving up, just felt like quitting. And every single time God came through. It's what he does. He is Jehovah Jireh. He is our provider. And whatever the circumstances look like, even when 7 things go wrong in a day, he is there for you. He's going to take care of you. He loves you.
What a good message. What a good book. More Than Enough. You can find it at morethanenoughthebook.com. And Melany is here. You're kind of like on a book tour, right? Doing some signings and some speaking at different churches. And so you can also see where she's going to be at that website as well.
It's pretty neat stuff. Now, Melany, you worked here at WBGL back a while ago.
Yep.
And here you are back here today. How would you say you're a different person today than maybe when you were here some time ago?
That's a great question. I think through the experience of starting a new ministry, God has molded me. I'm hoping to be more like him, to walk a little more in humility than I was maybe 10 years ago. And really the faith component is huge for me, to trust him in a much deeper boots on the ground kind of way. When the bank account says 0, and he's told me to wait on him, to trust him.
We're going to get into some more of the nitty-gritty of that here coming up in just a couple of minutes. Talk a little bit about the ministry that Melany founded, which is called See You at Home, which engages and mobilizes the community to house and support the most vulnerable homeless on their journey of healing and restoration.
Melany Jackson is our friend. She actually used to work here at WBGL. How many years ago?
Wow. 04 was the last year. So 96 to 04.
We're not holding that against her in any way, shape, or form.
So we let her come in from time to time. She just wrote a brand new book. We're touching it. We're feeling it right now. It's called More Than Enough. And it basically talks about, she had started this ministry for friends without an address, people who are homeless. And she talks about basically her story of how God really provided. I mean, when she thought the thing was just going to be, done. I mean, you just thought it was going to be over, and God really came through for her. So it's kind of about trusting God when it seems impossible.
And so maybe you're listening and thinking, well, I don't have any plans to necessarily start a nonprofit organization, or I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. I'm just trying to kind of go through life. But there is that sort of like constant worry that I think many of us can face is, okay, well, God has provided in the past, but can he be really trusted to do that today and beyond?
And that's so true. Every one of us struggles with that. And even though I'm sitting here holding a book about it, I'm living in that circumstance again right now. I was just telling Jonathan and Lindsay that I'm in the situation where when I ordered these books, it took the bank account to 0.
Wow.
And literally, I mean, there's no backup plan. I don't have parents. They've both passed on, and there isn't a savings account to bail me out. It's God who's going to take care of me. And the last thing he told me was, do not work, do not look for work. And that's a crazy thing for God to tell somebody, especially somebody that kind of likes to work a lot. So here I am again. And I'm holding the book that holds the testimony of what he has done in my life. You know, it's so important. You see it over and over, the Israelites in the Bible, looking back at what God has done, stacking up stones in the Jordan River to remember what he's done, the blood on the doorpost. It's so important to recognize what he's done in the past and that he will do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, we find some time, 10, 20, 30 minutes, an hour to write down, like, what has he done in the past? What might be a good place to start.
All right, so I'm looking through the contents of your book, and there's a lot of different chapters that look interesting to me. Now, this one says, chapter 16 says, gray hair.
Whoa!
What's up with that?
I want to know, what is that chapter about, Melany?
Well, our ministry had grown to the point where we really needed someone at a management level to partner with me in leading the organization, and we did a national search to hire this person, and it took 5 months, and we had all of these stipulations, requirements that we were hoping to find in the person, and one that wasn't written down on paper was gray hair.
You wanted the person to have gray hair.
Have some experience. Yes.
It's interesting.
That's very funny.
I like that. Melany's actually going to be doing a book signing tonight at WBGL at 6 p.m. If you're anywhere in the Champaign-Urbana area. If not, you can certainly check out morethanenoughthebook.com. You can purchase the book. In just a minute, we're going to give you the chance to text in and win it as well and get a link. But I was just wondering if you would share sort of the story of when you got passionate about, as you like to say, friends without an address.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, it was wintertime here in Central Illinois, and you know that can be pretty brutal. We went out in a truck that brings materials to folks right where they are. It's called the Canteen Run, taking a sack lunch and socks and hygiene products to folks who don't have a place to live. And we stopped on campus here in Champaign, and 3 guys came up to the truck, and it was obvious that they were in a pretty difficult situation. I noticed that one of them, his fingertips were starting to get dark, and it was a disconnect for me to realize that somebody was starting to get frostbite here in Champaign, in this affluent community. How can this be happening? And we got them some blankets. They were going to be sleeping in an underground parking garage that night. Bitter cold, snow on the ground, blowing and howling. Horrible night. And one of the volunteers in the truck asked if we could pray for them. So we all got out of the truck and made a big circle, held hands. And the volunteer prayed a simple prayer for God to take care of them that night, to protect them. And when the volunteer said amen, one of the guys started praying for us. And he thanked God for bringing people who care. And he prayed for us to be safe and to be warm that night. And I had no idea when I got into that truck that God was going to use one of the folks from the street to talk to Jesus on my behalf.